Welcome back to another highly entertaining episode of the Striped Sweater Podcast, where the best time to listen is all the time. I'm one half of your co-hosts. I'm Squeamish. I'm Zach Main. I'm here with...
I'm Alexander Beardsley, and that's not a hat. That's my brain.
Wow.
Indeed. It's episode 13, and we have a Halloween episode, and it's not Halloween time.
Right.
In fact, at the time of recording, it's a different holiday.
Yeah, Easter is tomorrow. It's Easter Eve.
On April the 21st, Sunday, tomorrow, Easter. Today, we are recording this podcast.
And it's coming out on Wednesday.
Correct, as all of our episodes do. But, so this episode, yeah, right, it's a Halloween-themed episode, so this one never really aired too often. It wasn't one that you would see as often as the others, because they wouldn't air it all year round, I don't think, or
right.
Not generally, anyway. So it's kind of funny.
Even though one of them really isn't...
Halloween-y.
Yeah,
the second
it's like
one,
kind
right?
of horror-themed, but it's not exactly a Halloween episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember seeing it a lot, so I don't know. But I'm sure it was played less.
Yeah, right. I know. I remember I was a teenage Gary more vividly than Scaredy-pants. Scaredy-pants seems like I only saw it.
Right.
But I did have the Halloween DVD of SpongeBob, but even then I didn't watch that one quite as often as the others.
Right, only on Halloween time.
Generally. Unfortunately, that one I lost. I still have the case for it, but I don't know where the disc is. So that's what I'm sure you can buy it for like $5 on eBay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But even then, it's just, I don't know. I'm just weird. I have a weird attachment to like things that I got when I was a kid that have stayed with me. And then when I lose them as an adult, it's like especially annoying because it's like it made it with me so long and then I lost it. It just bothers me. I don't know.
I get it. That's how you become a hoarder.
Yeah, no. Well, now the thing is I have grown out of it. It's like I really only care about things that I'm like nostalgic for or have like attachment to from like when I was a kid. Now it's like certain things like my Nintendo Switch games and stuff, like I'm much less attached to them. Like for instance, on my Super Mario 64, I still have my original file from when I was a kid just on there just because I don't want to delete it. It only has like 70 some stars on it. And it was like the file me and my sister played. I just don't want to delete it. So I won't do it. But like I like played through Mario Odyssey and I loved that game, you know, but I recently played through it again. I'm like, I don't need my old file. Like I'm just going to play a new one. Like what do I care, you know? Like it doesn't actually matter either. Like I could go into my old file on Super Mario 64. It wouldn't be any different than any other file, you know? But it would it just seeing it there means something to me. Yeah,
I get you. Because you can always go into and look at like, oh yeah, I remember not being able to get this star.
Right, yeah, for sure. See, yeah, I guess that is true. I've never actually done that, gone in and seen what stars we got.
Yeah. It's funny you brought it up because I was going to bring up that I'm streaming again. I haven't done it in a few days, but I might by the time this comes out. Me doing speed runs of Super Mario 64. The last one I did was a half hour and half of a second.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, what's
for
like
16 star?
What's like the 16 star like? What's considered good? Like,
I don't know. My record is 21 minutes.
Okay.
And I think the record when I was doing it was like under 17. So I don't even know what it could be now. I'm just doing it for fun.
Yeah, that's cool, though. But yeah, so this past week, you and I were both out of town briefly.
Yeah.
Me more so than you. I mean, more briefly, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, I was further away or anything.
Right.
Which they're probably about equidistant. Well, actually, you were in New York City, though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's probably further then.
Yeah, and while I was there was this super fancy hotel my work put me in, and they had a TV on the mirror in the bathroom. And
that's cool.
I like sat in the tub and watched SpongeBob on the TV mirror on my trip. So it's funny. I saw some of the newer ones, and man, some of them are kind of weird looking. Like people act a lot different. Like it was one where Squidward was kind of in charge of almost like babysitting Pearl.
Huh.
And he had to like make sure she was okay. It was a weird thing.
That sounds really weird.
But it was a great time out there.
Yeah, how many days were you in New York for?
I was there from Sunday on my birthday until
Happy birthday,
Thursday.
by the way. I don't think I actually said that. Maybe I did.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I said it to you when your birthday happened.
I'm actually like bad about birthdays. It doesn't even occur to me to say it to people. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what happened to me that I just don't even think to ever say. Like, I'll think about it and then I'll just be like, I'll never say it sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
If you remember, we mentioned that one of our guests' birthdays is tomorrow. Tomorrow's Jake's birthday.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right. So happy birthday to Jake as well, pal.
It's going to be a few weeks late, but
Yeah.
a week and a half.
Yeah, but it's the sentiment that counts.
Yeah. Make him happy when he hears it.
It'll be like it's like a dated, like, I said it when it was current, but you won't hear it until this comes out in a couple weeks. So
right. And I guess we should also mention that this is another guestless episode.
Yeah, no guests today, which is, fine, I think. No problems.
Yeah.
I think hopefully we won't talk for as long as a result, but I don't know. Our last episode was pretty long, even though it was just us two. But just to quickly go back to what we were saying about being out of town, this past Thursday, I got to go to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which is not too far away from us here in the Detroit area. It's about like 4.5 hours, maybe a little bit less, I think. Even
we've driven there together before.
Yeah, we've been there together before for wrestling events, and this time, I mean, I've never been in the middle of the week like that on a Thursday, but it's a good opportunity, and it's a really good show. I wrestled for a company called Demand Lucha, and they run shows in Toronto, I think every 2 months or something like that. Really a good show. If you're a pro wrestling fan, it's definitely something you need to check out on the internet. And you can even, if you go to their website and stuff, you can find a few matches that I'm involved in. And, of course, my pro wrestling moniker is Ashton Waganda. So if you're interested, go check that out. I think if you're a wrestling fan, you won't be disappointed at all. And if you're ever in the Toronto area, it's something to check out. There's a lot of good pro wrestling in Toronto. It's really hot there, and it has been for a couple of years, and it seems like it's only getting better. So
except now it's cold.
It was actually like 70 degrees there. It was weird. Yeah, it was strange. It was warm.
Well, I guess it was like here too, pretty much.
It was cool. The venue I was at was the Opera House in Toronto, which is like supposedly a historic venue. And was
that the one I went to as well?
No, we've never been to this one.
Oh, cool.
Josh hadn't even been to this one. Our pal and fellow pro wrestler who I went up there with, Movado, the mysterious Movado, who, if you're a pro wrestling fan, check him out. He's all over the internet. He's super talented and great at what he does. And
my nieces and nephews like him more than they like me.
yeah, no, he's great, very kid friendly, and a great performer. So I think that about wraps that up. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I did a wrestling match. It's fun just to give you a glimpse into what we wrestlers do to ourselves sometimes. Like, I had to skip work, miss out on a day's pay to go to this. Of course I did, that was my choice and I wanted to do that. But still, and then you drive out there, starting, in like early afternoon, like noon or so. And then we had to pick another guy up, and then we drive, however many hours. We get to Toronto we get to the venue about 5, and then we wrestle at like 8 or whatever. And then we dip out around 10, I think. And then, we get food and get gas and all that stuff. And I didn't get home till 4. Yeah. And then I had to work at 8 a.m. and, work an 8-hour day. Luckily, it was a pretty easy day for me, but I was beat by the end of the day.
That's how it is, People don't realize that wrestlers have...
I know, and like my parents don't understand it at all. They're like, why are you doing that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, it's awesome. Like, it's a really good opportunity. It's an opportunity I can't pass up.
It's not for the money. You're not getting a huge paycheck.
It's really more than anything for the experience, but also it's good exposure. There was over 500 fans there, and they were loving every minute of it. So, I mean, that's all you can ask for as a performer, you know, is a good crowd that's into it. But enough about me.
The six. Enough about the six.
Yeah, enough about the six. Zachary, are you ready?
Alex, I.
No.
Alex,
I'm not doing it.
I. Interesting facts about whatever it is. Have you seen it? It's like
but it's
the
like,
Tazier.
but I always heard it pronounced Charcier. So it's like funny.
It's like the one person. You understand?
I don't know if it could be either or, because it might have been discovered by white people, is my thing.
And we're back. Starting off with Scaredy-pants, the Halloween episode.
Indeed. So this is episode 13 already, and this aired on October 28th, 1999, which is weird because that was a Thursday. Every episode before this had aired on a Saturday.
And the Saturday would have been the day before Halloween.
Yeah, so it's strange that they
timing.
pushed it. I don't know why they did, but they probably, I'm sure they reran it every day after this, but...
Or maybe they did like a week-long like hype for it and made it for something like to watch after school and not, be gone trick-or-treating on a Saturday.
I suppose so, right? Instead of being at a party or whatever, you might be at as a kid.
Yeah.
Around Halloween time. So the storyboard artist was Mark O'Hare. The storyboard director was Paul Tibbett. It was written by Paul Tibbett and Peter Burns. This would be Peter Burns' last episode ever credited as a writer. And animation director Sean Dempsey. Creative director was Derek Drymon.
And the crowd goes silent.
Yeah. Well, I said it weird because there's more to say after it. There's also special guest performance by the Ghastly Ones, who play the opening title song, I think, and maybe one of the songs in the background.
Yeah, I didn't really notice like a big song.
Yeah, they didn't like make a point to. They just wanted to credit them, I guess, for whatever reason. That's cool. And not credited in the opening credits, but I want to say it before I forget. The Flying Dutchman is played by Brian Doyle Murray, which is the brother of Bill Murray. And he is not a typical voice actor on this show. He's a special guest for that character specifically. So I think
and
just
he does
wanted
a
to
lot.
point that out.
And a lot of people will know him too from.
He is Noah from Noah's Arcade in Wayne's World.
Right. He was in Christmas Vacation. That's what I know him in most.
Can't wait to find out this Christmas vacation. I like that song. I have like this daydream really it was mostly this past Christmas, but I have this daydream about
a pool
recording, yes, but also recording a a Christmas 5-song CD or something and giving that out to my family just as a little I think it'd just be cute.
Little gift.
Yeah, I think it'd just be cute to give one to everybody and make them all nice, make cover artwork and a track list and all that stuff. I think they would get a kick out of it, most of them. But I really want to do a cover of that song. I want to, because I'm weird. I have to do more obscure shit. That song is only from that movie. You'll never hear it on the radio or anything, But it's still a song that most people will recognize because that is a very popular movie.
Well, looks like we're going to have to do the Striped Sweater Christmas album coming out this year.
I was thinking, because I am going to start recording music sooner than later of my own, and I was thinking...
Sooner and then later as well.
I was thinking I could do, I don't know, make a record label, and I don't know, I was just thinking, I was it could just be Striped Sweater Records. I don't care. I don't need to think of another name. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to... It'd be cute, I thought.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know.
Anyways, this episode starts with spooky music. There's a skeleton pirate that we see, and he has like a pirate hat with a red skull on it. He's got gloves and boots and a cape.
He's kind of a funny looking skeleton just in general. He's only got like a couple ribs and I don't know. He's just drawn funnily. And I was wondering, like, what is he supposed to be? I mean, I think a fish, but it's weird too because his skull has teeth as well.
It has like 2 teeth.
Yeah,
it's super weird looking.
Yeah, it's just a strange looking skeleton. But moving on from that, there's he goes, you know, pirates, skeletons, and sea monsters, and you see like a spider. Like
with a snorkeling
just
kit.
I guess like an underwater spider. I don't know, you know.
Well, it's snorkeling from the top.
Oh, it is snorkeling, right? Okay, right. So that the idea being that it has to breathe air.
Yeah, so it's like panning over the street and you can see these things up close, but then you also see kids trick or treating.
And the narrator laughs evilly and like he gets too excited about he gets too into the holiday spirit and like, you know, and then he's like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Everyone having fun. Well, almost everyone. And then we see down the road. The road just dead ends at the Krusty Krab in this episode.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode may have, I mean, I don't know. I didn't research this, but just the way it's animated too, I feel like maybe this one was produced earlier than than some of the other ones that aired before it.
I think so too.
I noticed that immediately with the way it was drawn, but I mean I could be making that up, but then also
and the voices.
Yeah, I think this one may have been produced before, you know, and they wanted to do a Halloween episode, and then they made it, and then had to wait for it to be Halloween. Which would also explain why in the last episode, Employee of the Month, it is revealed that it is the month of January. So then the next episode to air would be taking place in October.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just a little weird whatever. But
we see SpongeBob who's washing dishes. He's pretty much just taking a whole dish, soaking it in water and rubbing it. And he's like hearing noises and he's like looking around all scared.
Yeah.
The ticket window, it's like turning in a circle like there's new orders coming up. And that one of them says B and then it says OO. So it spells boo.
It's revealed that it says boo, yeah. And SpongeBob is frightened by this.
Yeah, and he like hurries up and keeps washing them faster until he like you can hear some of them break.
He's like throwing them on the ground after he washes them, basically, because he's trying to go as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And just funny, that's 2 episodes in a row that someone breaks dishes.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of them.
Right, and he's just like, all right, Mr. Krabs, the dishes are done. I'm going to leave. And you can see the Krusty Krab is all decorated, spooky, like it says Happy Halloween on a banner, and there's like ghosts and bones and all sorts of spooky stuff around the restaurant. And Mr. Krabs stops SpongeBob from leaving.
And he asks him if he would like to hear his annual scary story.
Yeah, apparently he has one scary story that he tells every year. Well, it changes, you know.
Well, yeah, he breaks out a new story once a year.
Don't you want to hear my annual scary story?
No, thank you, Mr. Krabs. Does it have monsters in it?
Aye, the worst monster of them all.
No. Is it a true story?
True as the deep blue.
Okay, maybe just a little.
Have a seat, me boy.
They're letting us know that SpongeBob is very, very much a scaredy-pants.
Yeah.
Or a scaredy cat.
And he's like,
Scaredy-snail.
Is it a true story? And he says, it is true as the deep blue.
And somehow that entices SpongeBob. I guess it's like he's heard too much about it, so it's like okay, I have to hear it. It's true, it's scary.
He's being reeled in.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, maybe a little. Mr. Krabs sits him down and he sits him down on like a little barrel or a bench or something, and then he runs off screen and comes back, and you can hear him going hot, 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 hot. And he's got a campfire in his hands, or in his claws, if you will, sets it down on the ground in the middle of the restaurant.
Yeah, he was carrying it while it's on fire.
Right. It was already lit.
Yeah.
And
like this episode.
And then he sits down on the other side of the fire.
Already lit.
He starts to tell SpongeBob the story of the Flying Dutchman and how every Halloween night he descends upon Bikini Bottom in his pirate ship, just like this. And he pulls out a Krabby Patty, and he says, "Only bigger." SpongeBob's like what? Like his ship looks like a Krabby Patty, and like Mr. Krabs just is like kind of like trying to like ignore him, and he's like I was saying, and he's like
about him
comes down and he steals people's souls,
and then he takes some of the pickles off the Krabby Patty.
He like takes the bun off the top and then lifts up the pickle, and then SpongeBob inquires, "Do souls look like pickles?" And Mr. Krabs says, "Aye, as a matter of fact, they do."
Yeah.
Which is just funny.
And then the Flying Dutchman takes those souls and he puts them into his soul bag.
Yeah.
Which is, it says Krusty Krab on it. It's like a takeout bag that he wrote soul bag over.
Yeah. At this point, Mr. Krabs is laughing, and Squidward approaches behind SpongeBob, dressed up supposedly as the frying Dutchman. No, that's something else.
Yeah.
The Flying Dutchman.
Yeah, which is like a pirate hat and a beard.
And like a coat.
Yep.
And that's it. And he delivers what I think is line of the episode. I don't know about you.
I didn't remember this line, but it is pretty funny.
To me, it was the funniest line, I think, and the delivery is funny, and it's just good.
And sexual. It's sexy.
Really, I don't think this is really a like dialogue joke, heavy episode in that way. There's a lot of gags, and there's a lot of just goofiness, Halloween hijinks, if you will. So
yeah, Krabs has that one gag that's coming up.
But for me, I think this is line of the episode.
I've come for your pickle.
Scaredy-pants gets easier to scare every year.
And SpongeBob screams and jumps up to the ceiling, and you hear him crash, and Mr. Krabs is like, "Oh, it gets easier to scare every year." So that lets us know that SpongeBob has been working at the Krusty Krab for multiple years at this point.
Yeah, unless he would come up there all the time before he started working there, I guess. And they would still scare him. It is a small town, but
in Help Wanted,
yeah, it was like he didn't know him.
It seems like that Krabs did not know who SpongeBob really was. So I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess. But
he doesn't look any older.
It does. It kind of gives us the idea that, they've known each other a while, and potentially this is years after the first episode. I mean, it could be. There's no reason it couldn't be,
Yeah. But SpongeBob ends up, in like a trash can or something?
Yeah, like a barrel.
He's like, "That Squidward tricking me."
Yeah.
And Krabs is like telling him, "You better not be too scared to come to the party."
And calls him SpongeBob Scaredy-pants.
Yeah.
So we get the name of the episode.
And then Squidward just comes up, and because he's like, "I'm not Scaredy-pants." But Squidward comes up and says, "Steal your soul," just like that.
Yeah.
And he like shoots up out of into the air.
Yeah, he says it all
fear.
like monotone, like doesn't even put any stank on it to make it scary. He just goes, "Steal your soul."
Yeah.
SpongeBob freaks out. He jumps out of the roof, through the roof of the Krusty Krab, and then lands in front of the front door outside on his feet.
Yeah.
Just continues walking.
He's an Olympian.
Yeah. And as he's walking home, he sees a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, and then he walks up to a child with his parents. It's a kid in a cowboy costume, and he goes, "Twicko tweet." So it's a little kid, tiny kid, and that freaks SpongeBob's out, and the parents walk up and they're like, "It's okay, Sponge," or
It's okay, son. It's just SpongeBob Scaredy-pants.
Right, and it's like everyone in town knows that he's just a scaredy boy.
Yeah, because then he runs into Mrs. Puff.
But it's weird though. I just want to say real quick though, those fish are weird looking in that scene. They don't look like any fish we've ever seen before or since.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's another reason that makes me think maybe this was an early episode.
Perhaps.
And then also, right, Mrs. Puff's voice is pretty wonky here because I'll just play this. It sounds like,
Happy Halloween, Scaredy-pants. The name's SquarePants.
doesn't quite sound like her voice that we've heard thus far in the show.
Yeah, although maybe it's her trying to be spooky or something. It does sound weird though.
I mean, it sounds close. It sounds close, but you can tell it's
No cigar.
No Cigar, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack.
So then we see SpongeBob at home, and he's in a giant pumpkin, and he's cutting the eyes out, and he has like light in there, and he's cutting a mouth out, and he's just kind of talking to Gary. I got no more SpongeBob Scaredy-pants. He's like telling Gary he's not going to be scared. And he jumps out of the mouth that he cut, looks at the giant pumpkin, and it freaks him out, and he jumps in the closet.
His own creation is too much for him to bear.
And then he gets a doorbell or a knock, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, ooh, there we go, my chance to scare someone. Or does he know it's Patrick? I think he does. I think he says it's a good chance to scare Patrick. Like Patrick's talking to him.
You can hear Patrick from the outside, and he goes, "SpongeBob."
Yeah.
And so SpongeBob goes, "Gary, it's Patrick. I'm going to scare him. It's my turn."
Yeah.
He opens the door to try to scare him, attempts to like freak him out that way, just jump scare him, I guess, as the kids might say.
Yeah, but he just kind of waves his arms around and goes, "Rawr."
Yeah. And Patrick has the classic glasses, big nose, mustache combination disguise on.
From Groucho Marx.
And he...
Glasses, nose, mustache. Call me Glasses, Nose, Mustache Man.
Oh, shit, Zach. I didn't know.
I'm not a rapper.
So why are you rapping at me?
Yeah. Groucho Marx. Right,
Yeah.
That's who it's supposed to be, right? It's just missing the big...
that's what that essentially is, is based on.
But it is no cigar, right?
No cigar, no eyebrows. Maybe there was eyebrows. I don't know.
Like we said, no cigar.
Yes, I know. Do you know what song I'm talking about, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, Millencolin?
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
SpongeBob is frightened by the mask. It's not even a mask. It's just like a glasses prop type thing, right? But he gets freaked out, and
that disguise is enough to freak SpongeBob out. Like there's no limit to what can scare him. Like he is afraid by babies. He's afraid by silly disguises that you would get at the magic shop, one of SpongeBob's places he would like to shop at. It's like it's kind of silly.
Yeah, so SpongeBob pretty much tells him that he needs to be scary, and he's gonna need Patrick's help. He just tells him he needs like a better costume, right? So then we see SpongeBob come out, and he's got a sheet over his head, or over his whole body, essentially. And he's like, "Look what I am, Patrick." And he's like, "Oh, my trick-or-treat bag."
Yeah, and then he's like, "No," and he says he's the ghost of the Flying Dutchman, which it's like, no, you're. Even I, like as a kid, I feel like I was like, "No, you're not. Like you just look like a dumb regular ghost."
Yeah, not even. You're square as well.
Well, and in the last episode, Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost was the debut of the Flying Dutchman. It was just in a photograph in a magazine,
right,
or paper or whatever.
Right, so about laying his soul to rest.
So we have seen him, and we know what he looks like, and it's not anything like SpongeBob. Yet another reason why this episode was probably made before some of these others, I think.
Could be.
There's like a lot of things that would lead to that assumption, I feel like.
But Patrick decides that he's just missing one thing. He's like, hold on. And he goes into SpongeBob's like utility closet. You can hear him using power tools and such. Mm-hmm. And then he comes out with newly crafted wooden clogs for SpongeBob's feet. And he says, like, try these on, Hans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is just like a clog reference because someone named Hans in like the Netherlands or wherever, Sweden or whatever it is. I'm sorry.
It's like Holland. It's a Holland thing.
Yeah, Holland, I guess. Like in that, whatever. I
Dutch.
mean, what do you call that? Like Central European or Northern European or what is that? I don't know.
It's the Netherlands. Anywho,
that
doesn't make sense because that's what, Dutch clogs, that's what it is. But
yeah,
we know that he's a pirate, and pirates would not wear clogs because they would be inefficient to walk in. Have you ever walked in clogs?
Yeah, it's not thing.
Fun at all.
It's not my thing at all.
Yeah, and my feet are so big when I got them when I was younger.
When you got your feet?
What?
When you got your feet?
No, when I got clogs before.
Oh, okay.
They were size 14. They were pretty much just boats, little wooden boats, like Stuart Little would ride in. So, there's kids at the door, and SpongeBob is going to try out his new costume and scare the kids. They trick or treat. He opens the door and goes, "Rawr!" And he, like, wiggles his arms again, and it sounds like...
Look, it's the haunted mattress.
Okay, here's your candy.
No, please. That was enough of a treat. Thank you.
And these kids, one of them is a witch, one of them's a mummy, one of them's just a pumpkin head with like a trench coat.
So even the kids are like just belittling him for being a fucking pansy.
Yeah, it was entertainment for them to go watch that.
Right.
So then SpongeBob walks back inside, and Patrick has a ghost on his hand. It's like a piece of paper. He's like drawing eyes and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, a spooky ghost."
Yeah, he made a ghost.
Yeah, and SpongeBob isn't like terrified, but he's like, he gets it. Like, this is spooky, and he's like, "What's the difference between me and that ghost?"
Yeah. And Patrick is looking like back and forth, like trying to figure it out. It's a little bit tough.
Don't tell me.
Though.
Don't tell me.
No.
Don't tell me. He's
Yeah.
like yelling. Don't tell me.
I can do this. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Okay, tell me.
And he's like, I am square, and this one is round.
All you have to do is make my head round, and boo, I'm scary.
Yep, so then they go into SpongeBob's bathroom, I think, for the first time. He has, like, green wallpaper.
Uh-huh.
Boom.
He's got
that
like
one right.
He's got like a, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was green.
Yeah, me too.
And he had, like a barrel sink. That's all you can see. Really.
Yeah. And we can see...
But he's sitting down in a chair in the bathroom, and Patrick puts his goggles on.
Yep.
And he's like, "Are you ready?" SpongeBob shows him the ghost and goes, "Remember, like this." And so Patrick has his razor and starts razoring.
Well, it's like it's not a razor. It's
whatever, clippers. Yeah.
Yeah, like electric clippers.
Yeah. And starts zapping off some of the sides. And he like basically zips off the two corners.
Yep.
Which probably would have made SpongeBob look correct if he put the thing on.
Well, they're cut like inside, so instead of having like a round top, you have a weird where it like curls in and then out.
I get what you're saying. It wouldn't be perfectly round, but I think it would still look
okay.
I think it would still give you the effect you're looking for, basically. Yeah.
But he keeps going, and he's Patrick is like, "All right, let's do this." He's like, "You're sure you want to keep going?" And he grabs a piece of SpongeBob's head, and he uses it to sponge the sweat off of his head before he keeps going. It's pretty funny. And then they're like, you can tell that they're done, but you can't see anything. You can just hear them, and he's like...
But yeah, they let you know that it took a while. So like you can assume he definitely took off quite a bit of SpongeBob's body.
Yeah. But they say, let's go scare somebody, and now they're going to go out and try to scare people.
Yeah, but yeah, you just see SpongeBob with the sheet on his head, and it looks right. You know,
Yeah,
it
he's
looks
round.
it looks exactly like the hand ghost. SpongeBob. It's funny though when he's getting shaved too. He says, "Shave me down, make me round." Just kind of a funny little line there.
So they run up to someone's house, right? Like they're trick-or-treating, and the guy opens the door, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm the Flying Dutchman."
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick's like, "Ooh, I don't know who I am."
Right, he's got his glasses on. Right.
Yeah, that's as they're, I think, running through. And then they go, and they go to the door. The guy opens, and they say, "I'm the Flying Dutchman." And Patrick goes, "I'm the Flying Dutchman's best friend."
Yeah, and then they both run off.
Yeah, and
giggling.
they're like they're like, "Ha, he was definitely scared."
Yeah. We got him so good.
Oh yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Hey, don't you want your candy?" So it lets us know that he is in fact not scared at all.
Yeah. They actually go run into a skull. It's a skull shaped like
Yeah, like rock
coral,
formation
yeah.
thing. Yeah. But yeah, they're inside looking out through the eye holes.
yeah. I've got
In
a
your
couple
eye
of-
holes.
I've got a couple of eye holes. I'm the eye hole man.
They're just laughing, and they think they're great, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is so awesome." And he's like,
Patrick
"Your costume
says,
really packs a punch." And he goes, "Do you think?" And he's like, "Oh, no question." Like,
"You scared the barnacles off that guy."
yeah, who should we scare next? There's a whole party just full of people at the Krusty Krab. The Flying Dutchman is going to show up uninvited, which they are not wrong about.
Yeah. So, but that's some
Spoiler.
foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So they run by those kids on their way too, and the kids like look at them, and then after they go away, they laugh and they go, "Looks like he was demoted to a haunted sleeping bag." Ah.
Yeah.
So we know that even the kids don't think he's scary.
Yeah,
now.
nobody does, right? Everyone sees right through it, even though he's round now.
Then we see a crab apple
Sure.
in the form of Mr. Krabs bobbing for apples
Indeed. He's bobbing for apples
at the Krusty Krab
inside
party.
the Krusty Krab. Yep. And Pearl, and we get a establishing shot. We see people walking into the Krusty Krab, and then we see the people inside the Krusty Krab, and we get a few costumes. So what do we have? We have
Frankenstein,
a Frankenstein man.
and the bride who just kind of has the hair.
Yeah, we were saying she has the hair, and she's wearing like a bikini top but no bottom. So that's nice.
Or it's like a slightly weird color.
Yeah, it
bottom.
might
I
just
don't
be
know.
a colored weird.
There's
but-
a vampire.
Mhm.
There's Squidward dressed as the Flying Dutchman still.
Yeah, we can see Sandy dressed as the goldfish in a bowl.
Yep.
And we see the kids, the Pumpkinhead kid and the witch kid, I think, right?
Yeah. And the mummy.
And the mummy kid, yeah. Okay. I think that's everybody. And then we see, right, Krabs, who is not wearing a costume.
Yeah.
The only one, I guess he's like the only one who's that old that he doesn't even dress up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I guess so.
Squidward's even young enough that he'll still dress up. Like,
Yeah, I think he just likes to scare SpongeBob.
well, yeah, but it's just kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, you can assume that Krabs is probably the oldest.
for sure. There's a whole episode about him being old.
That's true, right? And, Pearl is like high school age. So, like,
Yeah.
but.
So he's bobbing for apples.
And Pearl is right there beside him. She is dressed up in a better version of the Bride of Frankenstein outfit. She's got the hair on her big whale head, and she's got
a wedding
the
dress.
the gown on. Yeah. And Mr. Krabs bobbing for apples. He catches one in his mouth, but then accidentally inhales it whole, and is like
He's, like, choking on
Yeah,
it.
he's choking on it. His eyes get all like soggy and stuff, and like Pearl, instead of getting help or trying to help him, is like,
"Oh, Dad, you're embarrassing me again."
yeah. She's like, and she like starts crying. She's so upset.
Yeah,
So
and he's
that's-
just still trying to get help, and it's obvious that he's choking.
Yeah, and we see Sandy and Squidward interact, and she lets us know what she is. We get a
Howdy, Squidward.
a more close up of her costume, and she says, "I'm a pet goldfish in a bowl," and Squidward says, "I don't get it," which the joke being, they don't have fish in a bowl in the underwater
right
world.
So they don't get it.
So he's like, what? What is that?
And then right when they start talking, the apple that Crab shoots out goes in between them, and you can hear it crash into something. So we know he's okay.
Yeah.
And also, we already know that Sandy and Squidward have met before because of the one where SpongeBob did his Squidward impression on the beach.
Yeah, but they also met when SpongeBob was going to move back with his parents. They were together in that episode briefly.
Sandy?
Yeah. Sandy comes to say goodbye
right.
to SpongeBob.
Or the Nature Pants.
Nature Pants, too. Or that's what I'm thinking of, actually, is Nature Pants. You're right.
When he gives them the gifts.
Yep.
Anyways, the next thing we see is SpongeBob and Patrick are on top of the building, and there's a secret hatch that goes into the Krusty Krab, and they're opening it, and SpongeBob's attached to a rope that has, like, it's pretty long, and it's on the ground, or on the roof, and Patrick has the other end of it in his hands. So it looks like he's going to lure him down, Mission Impossible style. But first, they have to cut the lights. And you can see Patrick has a
like a power strip, like
a surge protector.
Yeah.
And it's on top of the Krusty Krab. Apparently, that's where they route their main power is up to the ceiling or up above the building.
Yep. And so they cut the power, and Patrick lowers SpongeBob down, and Patrick is doing the voice for SpongeBob, because I guess the voice SpongeBob trying to do it would give him away, I guess.
Yeah, and the lights go out and everybody screams at first, and then they can all see him coming down.
Yeah, and, Patrick is like...
on a megaphone.
Yeah, he's using a megaphone, and...
Yeah, and people are actually kind of scared at first.
Right, and SpongeBob, he does have like some like scary like pointy fingers and stuff.
Yeah. He looks like Haunter, kind of.
Yeah, and at this point we see on top of the Krusty Krab, a jellyfish sneaks up behind Patrick and rubs its hands together as
right,
to...
it like makes hands out of its tentacles.
Yeah, like as to...
like, all right,
like,
let's get to
all
it.
right, let's do this, and stabs him right on the tuchus.
Well, it like shocks him.
Right above him. Or
doesn't
stabs
stab
him. I meant stings him, I'm sorry.
This episode got dark.
And Patrick, instead of immediately freaking out, he's like, huh? And then realizes what's happened and starts screaming and running around. And
SpongeBob's rope goes in. And so you can see SpongeBob just start to get thrown all over the place.
Yeah.
He's up and down. He's side to side. Patrick's just running up on the top.
Yeah, and then he was like trying to like itch it or whatever
on the back
up against the thing, and SpongeBob's just getting whatever, and eventually he gets thrown upside down. SpongeBob does. He's hanging upside down, so you can see his pants and his socks and shoes.
Yeah, and the kid's like, hey, it's SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha. And Patrick gets on the megaphone and goes, those are my street clothes.
Yeah. At this point, thunder and lightning and...
Wait, before that, though, you can hear someone in the crowd go, Flying Dutchman? More like flying dope.
Oh, yeah, right. And at that point, that summons the real Dutchman.
Yeah.
And
like you said, there's a cloud forming. It's all green and stuff, too.
Yeah.
There's lightning. There's, like, organ music.
Yeah. And he comes down and he comes into the restaurant, and he's big. He's like a big green ghost, you know. What did I say?
No, I just remembered how good the Flying Dutchman episode is in season 2.
Flying Dutchman's a great character, like definitely a top tier.
When SpongeBob's like, no, it's not. Wow. Like, because that's like kind of the way that
yeah,
the Flying Dutchman
right.
talks.
It's the real Flying Dutchman!
You bet your lily white livers I'm the Flying Dutchman. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm going to steal your soul.
Yeah, he's like, every year, people dress up like me. And Squidward, like, takes off his beard and hat real quick as to not be spotted and killed on the spot.
Right.
And he's like, and that's fine. You know, people do it. They make a mockery of me. But you know what is the straw that broke the camel's back? And he just points to upside down SpongeBob.
SpongeBob's shitty costume version of the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
Is the most insulting thing that the Dutchman has ever seen.
So now everybody's going to be murdered because of SpongeBob in his bad Halloween costume.
And SpongeBob's like, "Do you mean that I'm not scary?" And he's like, "You? Ha ha ha. Let me tell you about scary kids."
Yeah, he like pulls him off of the rope and like sits him down.
Yeah, he's like, "Spiders are scary. I'm scary. You're
not scary.
You're not scary." And he's like, "Let's get this over with." Talking about the taking of the soul.
Yeah, but of course he has to see SpongeBob's face before he takes his soul. So he takes the sheet off of him, and we're left with a shot of the Flying Dutchman freaking out and then flying away, like screaming and crying ish.
Yep. I mean, whatever he saw under that sheet was too much for the ghost of the Flying Dutchman, the scariest thing in the SpongeBob universe up until this point.
Yeah, but then we see what it was, and it's SpongeBob. He looks fine from the feet to the waist, but then up top, he's just one thin yellow like pole of sponge, and then you can see his eyes and nose and mouth, and then his brain.
Yeah, it's an interesting look.
So this I think I brought it up in an earlier episode, but this was the picture of SpongeBob that was on my guitar instructor Bob's shirt that he would wear. Yeah, he liked it. I don't remember what it said, but it said it was some kind of like thing that you'd put on a t-shirt to sell in a mall.
Oh, okay.
Because he worked in a mall. But it was a sweet shirt, and his name was Bob, so it was like he was cool and hip with it.
Mm-hmm. But
and
yeah,
that was like rock and roll SpongeBob. Brain, brain type thing.
I see. It's like heavy metal SpongeBob, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you say that the stuff about the pink hat or
No? So
Okay.
you see his brain, and he's just like, "Oh, I scared him. What do you know? I scared them." Everybody else like runs away too, and they're screaming.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, Patrick, I scared everybody."
It worked, Patrick. I scared everybody.
Yeah, I guess it was your pink hat.
Pink hat? Oh, that's not a hat. That's my brain.
Oh.
Don't worry, it grows back.
Yeah, and Patrick's like, "Oh, they must not have liked your pink hat."
Yeah, and then he says, "Pink hat? That's not a hat. That's my brain."
And he like pokes it.
yeah, he's
too.
like touching it, right?
Yeah. And he's like,
And Patrick goes,
"Oh."
"Oh." And then he runs away screaming.
Yeah.
And then the screen starts to fade, and he goes, "Don't worry, it grows back."
Yeah.
Which we have known Sponge to be regenerative, so
Yeah.
it's not false. And he will be back the same in the second episode.
Right, but that one I would give.
But first of all, right,
I would give it a number of spookies.
a number of spookies,
Yeah.
like 5 spooky. Is that what you're saying?
Like too spooky for me. I think it's a good tale. Like we kind of said in the last one, maybe we should say what the moral is, right? The moral is you can try to be whatever you want to be, but really you are what you want to be inside. Right? Because he's like, all I want to do is be scary. So he's like, I'll do all this stuff to to try to be scary, and then in the end, people make fun of him because of how bad he is at it. But then, just being himself, he's terrifying because
all he had to do was shave off his entire body.
Yeah.
And then everyone would think he's scary.
So
Yeah.
think about that, kids. Just shave off your entire body and your dreams will come true.
You are correct.
I had to do that.
You are correct, but I think, right, that's a wrestling thing. You're supposed to shave your body, at least.
I do.
It's
a lot of guys don't.
I personally don't totally shave because I'm like a dirty hippie type character.
It definitely
makes sense
it
for me
makes
to be a little bit hairy.
It makes my look.
But no, it's true. And I don't know, anybody who's, bodybuilders, they all shit. It's for muscle definition. Like you look
Swimmers.
the less hairy you are, the more aerodynamic you are, and the more defined you will look. That is generally true, in my experience.
But as we know, hairy is for the ladies.
Indeed. So yeah, great episode. But like I was gonna say, I don't think you basically explained the moral as much as you could. I mean, or you explained the moral as best as anyone could, I guess. But I think this is generally kind of a moralless episode. It's really more just about being about Halloween,
Yeah.
But that is, I guess, what it is, right? Is that it's kind of like a just be yourself type thing, which is a lot of the message in a lot of the episodes. Yeah. Which is true. You should just be yourself, don't do things just because other people do them, and don't feel like you have to be scary. Maybe you're not a scary person, It's like not everybody has to be scary. I think that's also kind of what it's trying to say, It's like you're just not scary. It's okay. Like not everybody's going to be good at scaring people. No big deal. Like, it's just one part of life.
I think the next episode is good because the person who learns the moral actually announces it in this episode. So with that, why don't we get to it?
Indeed. So here we are, episode 13B. I was a teenage Gary. Which
I'm just a teenage Gary, baby.
You should have got your acoustic guitar out. I could have played it.
Listen to Tiny Tim, maybe.
That's funny that they reference Tiny Tim in Muscle Bob Buff Pants or whatever.
Yeah.
And Tiny Tim is the name of the guy who sings the song.
Having a wonderful time.
That's funny, yeah. I didn't even realize that. Because when I think of Tiny Tim, I think of Charles Dickens.
Of course.
Personally.
You think of...
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, God bless us.
God bless. Yeah, wow, I said the line wrong. Damn.
Yeah. So, but it's actually a play off of the horror movie, I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
Yeah, from 1957. So, quite an old movie at this point. Not something I have seen personally, but in my research I found, not necessarily related to this episode outside of just a person going through a transformation. Obviously, this movie, I Was a Teenage Werewolf, is about a teenager becoming a werewolf. In this case,
but not Teen Wolf.
Nobody's a teenager in this episode, so it's kind of like it's just a fun little reference. But
yeah,
also according to my research, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Have you ever watched that show, Zach?
Is Andre 3000 on it?
No.
Then no. I've heard of it, never seen.
Yeah, it's. I don't know that you would like it right away. It's kind of an acquired taste, and it's kind of like if you were really bored in the 90s, it was a really good way to not be bored. Because they're like hour-long episodes, and it's basically just this guy and these two robots, and they watch these old shitty movies, and they riff on them, which means making fun of them.
Yeah.
So that's all the show is, basically.
Huh.
I mean, there's more to it than that. There is like a kind of like a story that goes on between them watching stuff.
Right.
And there's a reason why they're watching it. There's like, they make a storyline reason for why they watch this stuff.
That makes sense.
But it used to be kind of like a nerdier thing, but it became like a cult favorite type thing, and then Netflix renewed it and stuff like that. So
right,
it has a big following. not something I've watched a whole terrible lot of, but I like it. But they did one about they did an episode where they watched this movie, I guess, and that might be why the creators of this show knew about it, I imagine, because there wasn't anybody who was alive in 1957 who worked on the show. I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if they were alive at that time, they would have been in their 40s working on SpongeBob. It could be, but probably not, if I had to guess.
Well, I feel like it was probably a decently popular movie, right?
I was looking at the Wikipedia for the movie, and it looks like, I mean, it may have been decently popular, but it wasn't like, it's not like Dracula or like, it's not like considered like an all-time classic, like The Werewolf or Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right, but it could have even been like Human Centipede, where it's like, I haven't watched it, but I know it's a thing.
In those times, too, there were a lot, like, I guess, less movies in general, because there was just a lot less people and a lot less content, being made.
I felt like a lot of, like, more werewolf stuff that's, like, parodied in cartoons. I guess that's where I have to go off of a lot, is how cartoons and shows parody those movies. But it always seems like they're really corny, like the werewolf stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's, just from putting that together, I feel like that's what this movie would be. Maybe we should watch it sometime. I don't know.
We could do like a YouTube review of it.
I know we're off topic, but I did want to bring up the show My Life as a Teenage Robot. Do you remember that show with Jenny the robot?
Of course.
It's good. There's even like a Billy Madison type episode where they find out she's young because she was manufactured years ago.
Right.
But as a teenager.
She's only like 5 years old or whatever, so she has to go to kindergarten. Yeah, I remember that.
But I am the robot.
That must have been like one of the later like Nicktoons that I watched. I don't think there was much after that I cared for.
Yeah, but that was good, and it came late. Just like coming late. Here's Alex coming late with the deets.
Alex come lately. Storyboard artist was Chris Mitchell. This will be his last episode until season 4, which is weird. He was on the staff until episode 13 and then left and then came back in season 4. I don't know. I didn't look up what he did in the meantime. It's just kind of random, I thought.
Could be personal.
Yeah, who knows? Storyboard director was Steve Fonte. It was written by those two along with Mr. Lawrence. The animation director was Edgar Larrazabal, and the creative director.
Still Derek Drymon.
Indeed. Homeboy has just got longevity for days. So that does it, and for the credits, the opening credits, we open up with Gary exercising on his little exercise wheel or his treadmill or whatever, I only say treadmill because Sandy refers to hers as a treadmill in one episode.
But it's like a hamster wheel,
yeah,
but
it's just a wheel.
A snail's on it, and it's going really slowly.
Yeah, right, because snails are slow, which we will see that referenced a couple other times.
So SpongeBob has to stop him, though, and pull him off. He's like, come on, Gary, no more exercise. You're going to get too thin. Exercise time's over. So now it's time for him to play fetch, SpongeBob has like a regiment for him. He's like,
I guess.
No more of that exercise.
Right.
No more of you running.
Moving on to fetch, right.
Yeah, instead we'll do the fetch. And he throws like Gary's ball, which kind of has, it's not like a ball. It's not round. It has like little rubber pieces.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like a, it's a specific like pet toy,
Yeah. And he throws it, and then he goes and sits in his chair and starts reading the newspaper.
Yeah. And then a day passes. We hear I think we might hear like a bell chime or
like
something.
Like a rooster.
SpongeBob is passed out in his chair, and he's got 5 o'clock shadow, and Gary finally comes back. So, like, it took him a whole day, basically, to fetch once.
And SpongeBob waited for him because he's such a good owner. He didn't want Gary to feel, left out. It's just a gag on how slow snails are, but very exaggerated.
Yeah.
But Gary spits out the toy and meows, and SpongeBob wakes up, and, it's funny that just that little meow. He's like, huh? Oh, Gary.
Yeah.
Good, you got the ball.
And he's like, good job, Gary. And he's like, I love you, Gary.
Yeah.
And
it's cute.
He starts, yeah, it's really, really cute. This is like the most like intimate they've been.
Yeah, and his voice is a little different in this one too, I thought.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's like petting him, and Gary's moving his, like where his tail area would be, it's like wagging. Gary's like really happy, and Gary also loves his best friend and owner, SpongeBob. But then Patrick comes over.
But yeah, but I just wanted to say too, real quick, it's cute. They're just like cuddling, and he's like, "Oh, Gary, Gary, Gary." And I do this exact shit with my cat every day. Just like love him and pet him, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'd do without you. It's like the same kind of like thing. You're just like, I appreciate you so much. But
the
it's cute.
episodes when he's with Gary are always pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's just really cute, and you can actually see, I never noticed this before, you can see like the end of Gary's like snail body like sort of form into a tail, and you actually see it wag a couple times while he's scratching him. Oh, you said that? I'm sorry. It's okay. I was texting for a second. I'm sorry.
Sweet.
And
the fans are calling in. They had messages to tell us.
And yeah.
We're live, pal.
And yes, Gary climbs up on SpongeBob.
Yeah, on his head.
Okay. And Patrick is like, SpongeBob, are you ready? And SpongeBob's like, doesn't know what he's talking about. For what? It's like the annual jellyfish convention in Ukulele Bottom this weekend. So that's the first time we've ever heard of another town.
Yeah, it's also at the bottom of the sea. We're to believe.
Yes, right. I guess that's what bottom means, right?
It's not talking about like the lower body part of the bikini.
Mm-hmm.
That covers all the good parts.
Right. But also, like the theory being, it's below Bikini Atoll, the island.
Could be as well.
That's like that, where they did like nuclear tests.
Yeah. You
don't know about this?
No. Well, I mean, of course I know about it, but you should probably tell the people.
Well, that was like a theory I read a long time ago. But basically, there's an island called Bikini Atoll somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where it is. Caribbean, though, I think, area. They did a bunch of nuclear bomb tests there, like, detonated them in the water. And the theory being Bikini Bottom is below Bikini Atoll, which is why the creatures are all, like they're mutated like human beings and shit.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've read that. That is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure they didn't think about that, but I think that probably is at least the part of the inspiration for the name Bikini Bottom.
Yeah, it's also just like a playful little thing. Like parents hear it and they're like, "What? Bikini Bottom? Oh man, that's funny." Right. But this one's Ukulele Bottom, which I guess we're just to assume it's like a Hawaiian type thing.
Just another town, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, he's so excited. He's like throwing he's almost like moshing with his net. Patrick is. He's like,
well, yeah.
Whoa.
He's like swinging it around.
Yeah, and he like hits something off screen, and you can hear it smash.
Yeah,
and he gets scared, and then gets nonchalant about it.
Yeah, he blushes. Yeah, we don't see what he breaks, but he breaks something. SpongeBob was like, "Oh, that was this weekend," and Gary's still crawling all over him. He's like, "I can't go. I don't have anyone to take care of Gary." And this is like a real life issue for me since I got a cat. I mean, I've only had a cat for like less than 2 years. He turns 2 pretty soon, like next month. A month from now.
It's an issue for everyone with pets.
But it's like, yeah, it's like legit. Like, wait, like I can't do this. Like I can't leave. You know, even sometimes when I have someone to take care of him, like because currently I do have an easy way to have someone take care of him, but it's like still like I don't want to leave him alone. He's gonna be like wondering where I am and like all upset and crying and stuff. And it's like, you know, you just kind of have to let it go. I think it's a little bit easier. Like I have a cat, you have dogs, Zach. I think dogs take it a lot more personally when you leave.
Yeah, you hear mine when anyone does anything or tries to leave.
Well, it's just a thing. And have you ever seen those videos online of like the dog, like what the dog does when you're not home? It literally just like sits in front of the door and waits for you. Yeah. That's all it does. Like literally.
They're so loyal.
Yeah. Like for fucking however long you're gone, 10 hours. It'll like literally just wait for you. It's crazy. Like, but I mean, I'm sure you have 2 dogs, so they probably get into whatever little shenanigans with each other, I'm sure. Or at least
Finn's so young and gets into stuff. He stays in his cage while we're gone.
Oh, yeah, you have to cage him up, right?
Yeah.
Because he's just a baby boy.
Yeah, and he could get into some crazy stuff.
Some troubles. But let's move on.
Right, so after he's like, I don't have anyone to watch Gary, then there's a ring at the doorbell again.
Yeah, and it's Squidward, right?
Yeah, and he's got like a big pair of whitey tighties.
Yeah, and this is weird because they don't even elaborate on it anymore. But he just goes, "Would you please stop leaving your undergarments on my front lawn?"
Yeah,
and that's it. There's no acknowledgement to that statement at all.
He just kind of grabs the underwear and he's like, "Hey, do you think you could watch Gary this weekend?"
Yeah, he doesn't even mention say no problem or anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, cool, neighbor, whatever.
And he's like, "What's a Gary?" Which is silly because he knows who Gary is from Culture Shock. He introduces Gary.
Yeah. What's a Gary?
But anyway, not a Gary. Gary. He's my pet snail. And he's like, say hello. And he puts Gary up in front of him. And Gary makes a disgusting noise.
Yeah, he looks so gross.
And he looks all slimy and just nasty.
Say hello.
Yes. You actually care for that thing?
I love Gary.
Well, I don't. Get somebody else.
I guess we can't go away this weekend after all, Patrick.
Go away? You mean if I watch Gary, you guys will be gone all weekend?
Actually, a 3-day weekend.
As in, not here for 3 days?
Yeah, but you've already said you can't do it. We understand.
Don't feel bad, Squidward. The 3 of us can still have our own jellyfish convention at your house.
I changed my mind. You guys deserve a weekend away.
You'll do it? Great! Let me show you a little bit about snail care.
And SpongeBob's like, I love Gary. And Squidward's like, well, I don't.
SpongeBob says, I guess we can't go away this weekend after all, Patrick. And Squidward stops in his tracks and it's like they hit rewind on the VHS player, and he's like, and he walks backwards real fast. And he's like,
what did you say about going away?
Go away? You mean if I watch Gary, you guys will be gone all weekend?
Actually, it's a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, as if that's worse.
Yeah.
But it's better for Squidward, right?
Yeah.
As in, not here for 3 days?
Yeah, he's like, come on, you guys deserve a weekend away.
But it's just funny because SpongeBob, so honest and sweet, he's like, you already said you can't. I understand.
Yeah. It's obvious that he wants you to, but he's like, no, it's fine.
It's okay, yeah.
You're just trying to be nice.
Right.
Doesn't even pick up.
And Patrick's even like, don't feel bad, Squidward. We can have our own jellyfish convention at your house. And that's when he's like, I changed my mind. You guys deserve a weekend away. And they're like, what? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then SpongeBob's like, I need to show you a little bit about snail care.
Mm-hmm.
So he gives him all the details on what to do for Gary.
Yeah, at first he's telling him about how much exercise you should get.
Yeah, he tells him he needs to take him on a walk, daily routine. Squidward is just thinking about
he's
relaxing
Friday,
and
Saturday, Sunday.
This is gonna be great.
Oh yeah, and then SpongeBob's like, 1 can in the morning, 1 can at night. They're giant cans.
Yeah, huge.
That Gary's supposed to eat, and Squidward's like, Do you think it's enough?
Yeah. Which, I mean, really.
So he did actually he like snapped out of his daydream, at least to hear that, enough to remark on it.
Yeah. Yeah, the bus pulls up. You can hear people chanting jellyfishing already.
Jellyfishing, jellyfishing.
Just like they did in the, was that the jellyfishing episode? Yeah, it was. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Patrick runs out. He's like, come on. He runs out, makes a hole in SpongeBob's wall, right? And then he jumps in the bus and makes a starfish-shaped hole in the bus.
Yeah, right. He's so excited he jumps through the wall of the house and then right through the wall of the bus.
Yeah, and then he like pokes his head out like, come on.
Yeah, right. And nobody is like, you just destroyed the bus, you asshole. They're just like, they're all so excited too. It's just like, whatever. So
yeah.
I guess jellyfishing enthusiasts are just like fucking weirdos or something. I don't know.
And SpongeBob's all, do you remember this, Squidward? Do you remember everything I said? And he's like, of course I do. I have the memory of an elephant.
It's true. Elephants never forget.
Yeah, and he says, I'll take good care of Fred.
SpongeBob corrects him, Gary. And then he's like, yeah, right. Jellyfishing, so long, losers.
Yeah, he's like, so long, losers, right as they leave. And then you hear Gary cry.
Yeah, Gary. You see Gary in the window, his eyes.
Yeah.
And he's like it's kind of a little bit of a sad cry. He's going to be all alone.
Because we're to believe that Squidward is not going to care for Gary. It's obvious that he only did this so he could be alone.
And so Squidward exits his house, and he's got shorts on, and he's got his chair, and he's got like a umbrella on his head. Yeah. He unfolds the chair, which this is, as far as we know, I guess, one of Squidward's favorite pastimes, just sitting outside and tanning.
I think he also has some like tanning lotion on his nose.
Mm-hmm. And he starts to lay down. He's got his like reflector, which we've seen before.
Reflecto.
Like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
it is, it's actually not as like straight as it was before. Probably because they like messed with him.
I didn't notice that, silly boy. And he says, I'm going to do all the things I can't normally do because of SpongeBob. And then we see a time card thing show up.
Which is a common thing in the show.
This is the first time we see this, but there is no narration. It says 3 days later, but we don't get the 3 days later.
Yeah. But we see that Squidward is all red now. And he's burnt, and
he literally has not moved all weekend. He just sat there. He didn't eat, didn't bathe, didn't use the restroom, laid in the sun for 3 days.
Yeah, and then the jellyfish bus is coming back, and you can hear them all chanting, and he's like, "Oh wow, 3 days already," and he's super thrilled that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
No SpongeBob, no Patrick, nothing but me.
Ah, the snail! I forgot the snail!
Yeah, a very like shitty like fucked up meow because he's so fucking dehydrated and malnourished.
Yeah, and he's like, I forgot to watch Gary.
He runs into the house and he's like, okay, here. He's like dumps like all of the 3 days worth of food into the bowl.
Yeah.
He's like, eat, you gotta finish. He's like, it's like a fuckload of food in the bowl, and he's like fucking trying to like shove it in, like slap it into Gary's face, and Gary's just like too fucked up to like even eat. Like,
which is a meme that I just showed you.
Yeah. So Squidward is me. Gary is my paper that's due tomorrow. And the food is
half-assed work.
Right. So it's like you're shoving all this shitty work into this paper that you have to do tomorrow.
It says, me waiting to the last minute, essay due tomorrow, half-assed effort. Yeah, which was always it. Like, oh, geez, instead of putting the proper time into this, I'm going to try to just scoop it all in right now. And
never once did I do a project properly. I always did it. Made it all the way throughout college with a 3.0 grade average. So it can be done, kids. You can procrastinate on every assignment and make it through. It can be done. I'm living proof.
That's how it be. So Gary's not eating any of it, and it's not even getting into his mouth. But SpongeBob's coming in the door. You can see him getting his keys out. So Squidward, not to look like, obviously he can't have full cans of food, and he can't have a giant pile of food on there. SpongeBob will know that Gary wasn't fed.
He'll recognize the situation. So
he's panicking, and then we see SpongeBob walk in, and he's like, "Oh, hi, Squidward."
And he has like a weird little jellyfish hat on. Just wanted to say. Yeah. Continue.
And then Squidward's like face is gigantic. Like obviously he's holding all the food in his cheeks right now. Yeah. And he's like eats it.
Yeah, SpongeBob's like, "What are you doing here?" And before he answers, he has to swallow it.
Yeah, so he swallows it, and you can hear it like fall into his stomach, and he even goes, "Ow!"
Yeah, his whole body like kind of like bubbles up for a second, and then goes back to regular size. Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, just checking on old Gary."
He's like, "Oh, you're such a great friend. Yeah. I can always count on you."
Yeah, he's like, "Okay, yep, okay, bye," and then he's leaving.
Right, and then SpongeBob, like Gary kind of rolls up in there, and he's like, "Oh no, something's wrong with Gary."
Right, he can't even hold his eyes up. They're like falling on the ground.
He's like, "Squidward, something's wrong with Gary." And Squidward's like smiling as he's leaving. You know, he's like, "Haha, I got out of here without getting in trouble." But then he looks all worried.
He starts to feel guilty about it, Yeah. And so the doctor shows up. This is the debut of the doctor, who will appear in later episodes.
Yeah.
And his vehicle is a snail-shaped ambulance boat.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And then he's holding Gary.
And he delivers two lines here that I would say are both of my picks for the lines of the episode, personally.
Yes, it's just as I thought.
What?
This is definitely a snail.
I knew it! Oh, Squid, did you hear that?
Therefore, a shot of snail plasma must be carefully administered. Here you go.
Aren't you gonna do it?
Oh, no. I'm too squeamish.
And he's like, "Oh, did you hear that, Squidward?"
I knew it. And he's like crying, and he's like, "Therefore, a shot of snail plasma must be carefully administered. Here you go." And he does have that kind of like voice that I'm kind of doing. I don't know what kind of voice that is, but it's like a
low,
just like a kind of confident, neutral. Like, "Here's what's going on. I'm telling you." I don't know.
And he gives him like, it looks like a shell, and he like presses it a little bit, and it squirts out a little bit of it. It's white, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, "Yeah, you got to give this to him," and he hands it to SpongeBob, and SpongeBob says, "Why can't you do it?"
And the doctor goes, "Oh no." He says no a bunch of times, and then he's like, "I'm too squeamish."
Yeah, and then he like walks away.
I wanted to say too, though, just this is the doctor leaves here, but this doctor, he's a weird looking fish because he's got a big purple head and he's got like tiny, like twig thin red arms. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah,
it's like what the frick is going on with that? Like,
strange.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, totally.
Then Squidward's like, "Well, looks like he's going to be okay." And SpongeBob's like, "No, wait. I need you to do it." He's like, "I'm squeamish too."
Yeah. And he's like, "I don't want to."
Yeah. And then Gary like starts coughing. He's like, he's like dying. And, you know, he's kind of trying to milk it.
I love it. Yeah, he's so like just completely like.
He's kind of like, "You did this to me."
Pathetic sounding, right? Yeah. Just like, I'm gonna die if you don't give me that shit.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, fine, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So SpongeBob's holding Gary out in front of him.
Yeah, and this is how I would be with my cat. Like, please don't hurt him.
Yeah,
and
be gentle. Squidward's just got it, and he's like kind of got his thumb out, and he's looking out of one eye. and he's like has his arm back like he's gonna throw a football, but he's gonna like jab it into Gary.
Yeah.
Somewhere in him.
Yeah.
So he like jabs, and SpongeBob moves him, and he's like, "Oh no, that's too hard."
Yeah.
And then he like holds
Try
him back
again.
out.
Right.
Yeah. And he like keeps trying to get him, and he's like, "No, wait, stop! It's too much."
Right.
And he's like moving Gary over, and Squidward's just like, "Come on, stop moving him."
Yeah, hold him still, you know?
Yeah.
And then he finally does it, and Squidward hits SpongeBob in the nose.
Right in his nose. Yeah, and
with
he's
the
like,
snail plasma.
"Squidward, you've injected me with snail plasma."
Yeah, and Squidward, you know, obviously won't take the blame, which really it's not Squidward's fault. It is SpongeBob's fault.
Yeah.
Straight up.
It is.
And he's like, "What's gonna happen to me?" Squidward's like, "Oh, nothing, you know.
You're gonna
no
be
big
fine."
deal."
And then at this point, we see Gary, and he makes his way over to the water dish.
Yeah.
He like drinks a little bit of water, and then he's like,
he's
like,
gargles.
meow. Yeah. Meow.
Yeah.
Like he just clears his throat.
And he's totally fine now. He looks totally regular again. And it's like, Squidward's like, "He just needed water." And SpongeBob's excited, of course. And
He's like, "Oh, Gary's so great."
Squidward is like, "Oh, how touching. I'm going to go home and throw up.
Yeah.
Good night." And he's like, "Squidward, wait, the snail plasma." And he's like, "SpongeBob, it's fine. Nothing's going to happen."
Yeah, and Gary's like, "Meow," and he's like, "No, Squidward said everything's gonna be all right. He knows everything."
Yeah. "So you hungry?" And Gary is excited.
Yeah, he's finally gonna eat some food.
Yeah,
so.
he's perked up. And he's like, "Eat up, Gary." And
SpongeBob pours a bunch of the food.
Well, right. He pours the food, right. And he's like, just kind of wondering what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Starts eating it, and he
like
likes it.
It's just like a sample. Like he puts on his finger, and he's like, "Oh, good." Then he does it again with his finger, and he's just taking these little samples.
Yeah, and then, you know, eventually gives him the bowl, and Gary does a meow? Like a what?
Yeah, like a what?
And SpongeBob ate all the food, like, without realizing it. So something weird is going on. Which is funny,
like,
though,
"Oh,
because
geez."
you remember later in the show where SpongeBob tastes...
I do, and it's gross.
Blah!
Yeah. Most important meal of the day, serving it up. Gary's white. Blah. So he eats the whole thing. He's like, "Oh, geez. Oops." It's like, well, you know, nothing's weird. And he starts like walking. He's like, "I feel tip top." And he's like, "Gary, you're getting a lot frustrated." Right? Like he's walking real slow, and Gary's even faster than him.
Yeah.
Gary, you're getting a lot.
And then SpongeBob goes to the bathroom and looks in the mirror. So that's funny. Yeah, no bathroom until this episode, and we get a bathroom in both episodes.
Boom.
And he's like, "Look at me, never better." And like music begins to play, and he's like, you can tell he's not feeling good. His pores are like getting bigger and smaller.
Yeah,
and
it's like an old transformation, like an old movie, kind of like probably the one that it's referencing.
Yeah, potentially. I actually wasn't watching when it happened, so like I don't know. It's probably just the werewolf, because the original werewolf movie, because that's like the famous scene. He's in the mirror like that,
Yeah.
and it changes.
So what happens is like SpongeBob's arm like shrivels up and like falls off, and he's like, "That's okay, I'm a lefty anyways." And then his like other arm shrivels up and his sleeves fall off, and then his legs both shrivel up, and he's like, "Well, now I don't have to buy those new shoes." Like
Yeah.
he's kind of just like seeing the bright side of
Yeah,
these
he's
things.
just like, well, he just doesn't want to believe that anything's wrong with him, too.
Yeah, and then
he's
he's
like,
like,
"Oh, well, that's okay. I just won't
Yeah.
wear shoes anymore."
Squidward said it's fine.
Right.
And then, like, you see him, and he looks fully like a snail. Like, his eyes have come out into stalks. He's shaped like, you know, a snail. Like, he's bending up like he would go into a shell.
Yeah,
and his pants are on, though.
His pants form the shell, basically.
Yeah, but they're still square.
Yeah.
So it's not, like, a really effective shell.
But that's like the concept is the pants are the shell.
Yeah. So then we see Squidward going to bed, and he's got his clarinet on like a little bed thing too, like a little pillow thing, and his pet's name is Clary. He says, "Good night, Clary." So we've got Gary and Clary.
Yeah, and Larry,
The
lobster and the snail.
Yeah, eventually.
And
Jerry. Squidward's door is like being rung, doorbell or knock. I guess I should have paid attention. But he's like, "Oh, I can only imagine who this is," right as he's going to bed. So he gets up to the door and he opens it and he's like, "SpongeBob, you're fine."
Yeah, and then he sees that SpongeBob is a snail.
So seeing this right now, it reminded me, we didn't even mention that when Squidward came over in the first place with the underwear, he looked and he was like, and Gary was eye level with him because SpongeBob's so shorter.
Right.
And then it like panned down to SpongeBob. But this time, yeah, it's
like
SpongeBob
the opposite,
as a snail.
Kind of. But yeah, SpongeBob is a snail and he meows at him. And Squidward is like, ah!
Yeah, he's telling him like, I told you, SpongeBob, you're fine.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh my god. And he like pokes one of SpongeBob's eyes and it like closes and like shrivels up and then like kind of comes back out.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, what have I done? It's all your fault." And he's like, "Okay, get it together, Squidward."
First he yells, "Oh, Neptune."
Yeah.
Which I don't know if they've referenced other gods yet, but this is
I think
a play on him saying like, "Oh my god."
It means like, "Oh god," yeah. I think Mrs. Puff may have said Neptune.
Oh, right.
But other than that, I think this is one of the first times.
Yeah.
But yeah, SpongeBob, it's funny. So Squidward's inside his house and he's not letting SpongeBob in.
Yeah, and he starts like boarding up the door, and then SpongeBob shows up in the window and he boards up the window, and then SpongeBob like squeezes his way through one of the holes in the wood.
I love this. I just love the way SpongeBob sounds during this too, and like the music is kind of like
meow.
It's scary, but then he's like meow, meow. Like it's just I don't know, it's just funny.
Meow. 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 Meow.
And then he squeezes through and Squidward is freaking out.
He runs
to the closet. Yep. And he's like, "None of this would have happened if I'd fed that snail."
Yeah, this is where he says.
Yeah, he admits his wrong. Right.
Yeah. If he would have just fed the snail, none of this would have happened.
So that's what you do, kids. If you tell someone you're going to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Yeah.
So he then SpongeBob is in the middle of the room and he's like, "Ah," and he runs to the side and up the wall, like over to the other side.
Yeah.
SpongeBob's just turns around and he's like, "Meow, meow." He's just like ends up running back and forth to him. SpongeBob's just standing still. You can see Squidward's house like tilting around, and it'll like stop, and then he'll go meow, and then it'll start going again.
Yeah, we see inside, and everything's all
the
fucked
house
up.
The house like tilts over on its side now.
Yeah, and so everything's a mess inside. Squidward sits up, and we see that the snail plasma, which for whatever reason Squidward took with him to his own house, or did SpongeBob bring it over?
Yeah, I don't know how it got there.
I think he just took it with him when he left, which is like, why would you? You don't have a snail, you know? It's like, why wouldn't you leave it at SpongeBob's house?
Also, did you see that there was a clarinet going through a painting, like where Squidward's nose was?
Yeah. But anyway, so Squidward has been injected in the nose now. So that was his karma for not watching Gary and then not helping SpongeBob and trying to avoid him.
So then we see three. It's kind of supposed to be like three alley cats singing in the night.
Right.
But
they're on the fence, you know.
Yep. Gary's on the fence, SpongeBob's on the fence, and Squidward is, and he even has his own shell and everything. He's like a weird-looking snail as well. And
Yeah.
I always remember this song. Like you said, it's probably a song from...
Yeah, well,
the tune is from something else,
the
right?
tune is Blow the Man Down. I mean, you've definitely
Right.
heard that before.
Yo-ho, yo-ho.
Blow, blow, blow the man down.
Right, so they're kind of like doing sailor stuff, but it's like...
Oh.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
Will you clam up?
Meow, meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
We see Patrick his rock comes up and he's stuck to it again.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Will you clam up?"
Yeah, and he's holding a boot already when he pops up too,
Yeah.
and just fucking throws it.
Yeah, and it hits Squidward.
Yeah, of course.
Like, this is even more, like, this is what you get.
This is ultimate, right? You've been turned into a snail, and fuck you too.
Yeah. And then they're, like, still singing, and even Squidward does his, like, meow, 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 meow.
Yeah, because
like an owl.
he's all hurt, right? And right, he's all, even though he's been knocked off the fence, he still is singing his part.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of the episode.
Yep, that's it.
So that does it for episode 13B. I was a teenage Gary, and that does it for us here at the Striped Sweater Podcast. That is the show. Episode 13 in the books. What would you rate that episode, Zach Araya?
That one probably in 18 out of 19. 19 being the top, because of that's when teenage years end.
Okay.
It was solid.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's like, it's simple, and honestly, yeah.
It's cute.
I think this one, just looking at it too, I mean, I kind of wish I had looked into that, tried to research that, but I'm like 85% positive both these episodes were made before other episodes that have already aired at this point. Because this one felt a little bit, I don't know, just simpler, less developed than, like, say, Muscle Bob Buff Pants or Nature Pants or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that doesn't take anything away from them. They're both good episodes, but they just feel like a little bit, I don't know. They're both memorable, but I wouldn't say, I don't know, like Scaredy-pants, like that's just one, it's like, yeah, it's fine, but it doesn't stick out as like, oh, I love this one, you know? Like, I can't wait to watch Scaredy-pants.
Right.
So really, that's kind of like maybe the first one that I feel like I'm not like, oh, I love this episode.
Yeah,
you know?
it was really memorable, but it wasn't like...
I mean, it's still
hilarious.
a classic, but yeah, it's just not like, it's not like the others where you're like, oh, I've seen this one so many times. I still, like, I love it so much. It's so good. It's excellent, you know?
Yeah.
It's not not to say it's a bad episode at all, just probably up until this point, like, honestly, probably my least favorite if I had to say that. I was a teenage Gary, though. I feel much more like I remember that one a lot more. I like it a lot more. I feel like it's just a little bit more enjoyable. And I guess maybe because it's a Halloween special, the Halloween one is a Halloween episode. Maybe it's just, you know, and it's not Halloween now, you know.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, I would say that's probably my least favorite one that we've reviewed up until this point. But like I said, still a good episode, still worth the watch, still, you know, a classic episode. And like I said, I think it was made early on in the life of the show. So, I mean, it's a good one to have, you know. Also, it was the very first holiday episode, of which there would be multiple for
Right, there's Christmas coming up. And
many other holidays, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it was a necessary, like, first step in the holiday special game. So, but yeah, excellent stuff. I had a great time reviewing these two today. We will be back next Wednesday with SB129 and Karate Choppers, which that's going to be a fun one. that
Yeah.
you're not going to want to miss.
Both of those. I love both
Right,
of those.
right. Both really good. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe to us if you haven't already. And if you feel inclined, please leave us a rating and or a review. We would be really happy about that.
You won't have time by the time this comes out, but if you let us know that you want to be a guest on it, maybe we can squeeze you in.
Potentially.
Work something out.
Yeah. We record every week, and so, and there's a lot of episodes to go. So, let us know what you think and all that. We love you guys so much. I have been Alexander Beardsley, also known as Ashton Waganda. You can find me all over the internet at ASHTONWAGANDHA. That name again is Ashton Waganda. That is my name when I step between the pro wrestling ropes. So, yeah, follow me all over the internet and hit me up with a message or whatever, Zach?
I'm Zach Main. Totally Rad _Zach. Mystified. You can find us also at the email that we have set up, stripesweaterproductions@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube, Facebook. Leave us a review on anything that you can. I don't know if you can on Spotify, but on like Apple Podcasts or wherever you get them.
Mm-hmm.
That help us out if you're enjoying it, or if you're not, also do it so we know
what to work on. Yeah. So, right, yeah, Stripe Sweater Productions, Stripe Sweater Podcast. Look us up, find us, like us, share us, subscribe, do all that stuff. We would certainly appreciate it. And if you're listening right now, you already know we appreciate the shit out of you. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Lucky episode number 13. And I think that about does it, right, Zach?
Yeah, that's probably it.
So what do you think? What would you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning who is singing to you? You know what song he's singing?
Happy birthday?
No. He's singing
Careless Whisper?
Blow the man down, boy. Just blow the man down.
Is this like he's trying to like get with me type deal? Like
That's up to
down?
That's up to you. Read it how you will.
What would I do?
Yep.
I don't know. That's tough. I would say I would sing along with him.
And then just see what happens from there.
I don't think any of that stuff's in. He's just drunk and he's talking and
he just
singing.
wants to sing.
It's pirate
right?
songs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yo ho, yo
just
ho.
Sing with
you know.
him and
give me a big
and he'll just
give me a big mug of ale too.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's,
you guys
let's
can
swashbuckle.
let's swashbuckle, you scalawag.
Yeah, swab the poop deck early in the morning.
All right, listeners, thank you again. I've been Alex Beardsley.
I'm still Zach Main.
And we will see you next time. Okie dokie. Bye.
Artichoke and rye.